Victoria Lady Welby was a self-educated English philosopher of language, a musician, as well as a watercolor artist. She was born in England and had little formal education, where from the ages of 11 to 18 she traveled the world with her mother, visiting countries including Canada, US, Mexico, Morocco, Palestine, Spain, Turkey, and Syria. Lady Welby was the most receptive person in Britain to the study of semiotics. She strove to popularize the work of fellow enthusiasts for linguistics. Lady Welby's contributions were significant because she brought a socio-cultural background. Without the conventional upbringing, she was able to form her judgments from first-hand experience and observation. Lady Welby's first publications were on Christian theology, especially interpreting Christian scriptures. However, her early publications were little read and noticed, and as a result, this led to her wondering why this was so. This resulted in her deep interest in language, rhetoric, persuasion, and philosophy. By the late 19th century, Lady Welby was publishing articles in the leading English language academic journals of the day, including Mind and the Monist. She published her first philosophical book, What is Meaning? Studies in the Development of Significance, in 1903, following it with Significs and Language, the articulate form of our expressive and interpretive resources, in 1911. In the same year, Lady Welby contributed to the 11th edition of Encyclopaedia Britannica, which was her crowning achievement with respect to the recognition of significs. Welby's concern with the problem of meaning included the everyday use of language. She coined the word significs for her approach, which replaced her first choice of sensifics. Lady Welby distinguished between different kinds of sense and developed the various relations between them as ethical, aesthetic, pragmatic, and social values. She positioned three main kinds of sense: meaning, and significance. She writes, "The classified use of the terms of expression suggests three main levels or classes, including sense, meaning, and significance. The first is sense, in its most primitive reference, that is, with the organic response to the environment, and with the essentially expressive element in all experience. We ostracize the senseless in speech, and also ask in what sense a word is used or a statement may be justified. But sense in itself is not purposive, which means it does not have meaning. This is the main character of the word meaning, because it's properly reserved for the specific sense which it is intended to convey. As including sense and meaning, but transcending them in range and covering the far-reaching consequence implications, the ultimate result or outcome of some event or experience, this is where the term significance is usefully applied." Lady Welby's inductive attitude led her to ask the questions of what do we mean by time and space, motion and mass, body and consciousness? What do we mean by the mind and the self, by reason and moral sense? What really is meaning, and what do we really mean by our symbolic acts and statements, or our equally symbolic protests against given acts or statements? Welby shows how information, meaning, communication, or whatever happens only lives inside individual man in his communal situations. So never is it information management in itself, but it is ever-changing human life which establishes the situations for information management. Finally, in Lady Welby's novel, What is Meaning? This was eventually reviewed by the founder of American pragmatism, Charles Sanders Peirce, which led to an eventual 8-year correspondence between the two of them. The triadic structure of her thinking was a feature she shared with Peirce. This theory has three elements. 1, the representament, or the subject of the relationship. 2, the object, which creates a signal and mediates the relationship. And 3, the interpretant. This is the effect of the triadic relation. So for example, the representament could be a hand. The object could be the lack of light. And the interpretant could be the shadow, which finally shows the hand shadow of a puppet figure. Peirce also discusses 3 different sign types. These include the icon, the index, and the symbol. The icon represents a formal quality of object to the interpretant. For example, a penny represents the icon of President Lincoln. The index, which is the action or reaction which connects it to something else, could be smoke. For example, the smoke points to a source of fire, or maybe a cigarette smoke. And the symbol is the sign of convention completing the representation. For example, the homepage symbols on our internet browsers. We all conventionally know that this symbol will tell us that if we click on it, it will direct us to a homepage. Welby's semiotic and philosophical ideas on signification on one hand, and those of her contemporaries such as Peirce, were one of a number of approaches to the theory of language which emerged in the late 19th century. Her work is so significant in communications because this is what anticipated contemporary semantics, semiotics, and semiology today.